Hey, what's going on? It's Rick here, and today we're going to talk a little bit about Wi-Fi, and specifically the AmpliFi HD Wireless Mesh Kit. This is by Ubiquiti Labs. For those of you who don't know, Ubiquiti is a really big player in the enterprise space, so they provide commercial-grade, enterprise-grade networking devices and hardware for a very long time. So you're getting a well-respected brand name in the industry with this particular kit. It is going to run for a suggested retail price of $349. If you've watched my channel in the past, you know that I've done a similar review on Google Wi-Fi, and that's what I've been using in my home. So the folks over at Ubiquiti reached out to me and said, we'd like to get the AmpliFi HD in your hands so you can give it a go. And here we are. So I've got my impressions of testing this out. Now, let me get this out of the way, because when I did my Google Wi-Fi video, people were a little bit confused as to what truly was needed. So before you even go out and purchase one of these devices, you do need internet. So you're going to need to go through your cable provider, your ISP, whatever it is, you need to come in with an internet connection. These don't buy you internet connectivity. These are for setting up a wireless network within your house. So once you've got that internet connection, this is going to help you to be able to create that wireless network and spread it across your home. Now, how it's different than a standard Wi-Fi router? Well, this is really utilized for those of you who either have a bigger home or struggle with wireless connectivity within your home. And that can be due to a variety of reasons: construction of the home, density of the walls, insulation within the walls, the type of material used in the home that shields some of that signal from going through. And as a result, you either get dead spots in the home or areas where your Wi-Fi signal is so diminished that your speed takes a hit. So that's where kits like this come into play. It utilizes mesh network technology to expand that signal like a blanket over your home and sustain fast speeds. It's different than going out and buying a network extender. If you buy a network extender, sure, those can work, but they can also cut your speed by half. So that's something to consider. Now, sure, you're still going to get a little bit of a speed cut using mesh technology in most cases, not in all, but it's nowhere near what you would get with using an extender. So what do you get inside of the AmpliFi box? Well, you do get an AmpliFi router, and it's a really nice device, I gotta say. It is kind of has this little porthole design on the front side. It tells you the time, it tells you the speed. I mean, things that a traditional router just doesn't do. And like I say, I've got Google Wi-Fi, and that just looks almost like a makeup pillbox or something. So this has more style to it. It's also got more ports on the back, Ethernet ports that is, and they're gigabits, so you can actually plug in other devices directly to the back of the router. It does support, for those of you in the tech know, it does support Ethernet backhaul. So if you wanted to go out, let's say you picked up a kit like this, they do also sell the AmpliFi router separately. You can pick up another router and backhaul two of them together for even a better wireless experience. It still can create a mesh network that way, but that's going to get you the fastest speeds, even above what a wireless mesh network kit would do. You're also inside of this package, besides that one AmpliFi router, you're going to get two AmpliFi mesh points. These are a little bit different because they look like these kind of long antennas. They use a magnetic sort of technology that you can split them apart, which is kind of nice because and I don't suspect they're going to break, but if they ever were to break in the future, it makes replacement of parts very, very easy. And they plug into a wall outlet. Now, they are going to take up space in your home depending upon where you plug them in, but they do angle in different positions, so you can kind of position it as such. On the front, there is a signal strength indicator, and we'll talk more about that in the app as well. You also get an Ethernet cable, you're going to get a power adapter, and then of course an instruction manual. Now, I got to tell you, the setup of this is extremely easy. I mean, it couldn't be easier. When I compared the setup of this to, let's say, Google Wi-Fi, it was even more simple than that. So you will need an app. That's the best way to do this, and it's available on iOS as well as Android devices. And once you get that app, it's going to simply walk you through the process of setting up your network. So you'll already have your internet connection. Some of you may already have it plugged into a cable router or whatnot. It'll instruct you on what to do. So you will plug into the AmpliFi HD router, and once that's set up, if there's any firmware updates, it's going to tell you. You'll want to download those, and then all you need to do is plug in those wireless mesh points throughout the home. Now, the beauty of this is it's super simple. And while Google Wi-Fi was also simple, I found this even easier because really all you had to deal with the AmpliFi HD is the router itself. Once that's good to go, you plug in those AmpliFi HD mesh points and they basically configure themselves. So it's really, really simple to do. Now, with everything set up, you are going to get really nice coverage within your home. Now, I do want to caution, anytime you watch a video like this one today, everybody's experience with any sort of a Wi-Fi technology is going to be different. So my experience is highly likely to be different than yours. And the reason for that is environment. Remember, all of us have different places where we dwell, homes, apartments, things like that. The materials that these dwellings are made of differs, as does network congestion in the air around us. So those are things that need to be taken into account. So when I tell you about my results here, your mileage is going to vary, as it will compared to any other video that you're going to watch out there. So the AmpliFi app is really cool, and I gotta say it's super simple to use. So taking a look at it here, it's gonna tell you how your network is looking, and in my case it says everything is great. You can go into the settings, you can adjust the brightness of the display on the router itself or the light below it. You can go into advanced settings like DHCP servers, set up port forwarding, do things like that. You can go into each individual mesh point and see the signal strength, and you can adjust other things here as well, such as the LED that's on those devices, as well as the sound, because each one of these devices has a small speaker that is going to emit a beep or a tone when it restarts or does things like that. So there's just a lot of access that you have within this app. You can also check out your network settings. You can adjust the time to be 24 hours or 12 hours, because again, that's going to show on the front of the router. You can adjust all of the things that you would expect when it comes to a network device like this. And it's not a surprise coming from Ubiquiti. Like I said, they've been in the business for a long time in the enterprise market. But it's taking the intimidation factor out of it. So while Google Wi-Fi was very easy to use, it was limiting in how much you could do. This is a little bit of the opposite. It's easy to use, but you have more things you can do. And as you saw, there are performance tests that you can run. You can even set up a guest network here and do it in such a way that you can limit how many people or how many guests are on the network and for how long. You can set it for a number of hours and minutes, or you can set it to an infinite amount of time. So there's a lot of things that you can do within the confines of this app here. It's really, really easy to use. And there's so much more band steering and things like that that I won't get into in this video that are just all available. You can also set up things like parental controls. You can create profiles for devices that maybe belong to your children or other family members, pause internet on all devices, on specific devices. You can even diagnose your network from the app. So they've made it really, really simple, and you can also access it remotely if you hook it up to your social network, whether it be through Google or Facebook. Okay, so we've talked about the app, we've talked about what you get inside of the box, and a little bit about why you would need this, but let's get to the important stuff. Performance. How does this perform? And I gotta say, I'm very impressed with it. Out of the box, there are some things that I needed to do to get it to where I needed it to be, and let me explain that. So at home, I have a gigabit connection. I have a gigabit up as well as down, and when I go wired and do a speed test, I am seeing as such. I'm getting about 950, 960 megabits down, and likewise right around 930 to 960 up, so extremely fast. But what I noticed out of the box is when I did a test like that, straight through the router, of this AmpliFi HD. It was topping out at about 500, sometimes squeaking out 600. And so I reached out to Ubiquiti and talked to the folks over there, and they pushed a beta piece of software to my devices that they will be releasing very, very soon here to everyone, and then had me turn on hardware NAT, which is a feature that you can turn on within the app itself. Once those two things were done, I was back on par with what I expected and seeing those wired speed tests coming in anywhere between 940 to 960 up and down. So problem resolved. Now I realize many of you out there, as gigabit becomes more and more available, at least right now, that may not be an issue for you. So you're not going to have to worry about that. But for those of you who do have a gigabit connection, that's something that will be resolved when that beta software is pushed out to everyone, which should be very, very soon here. Now, wireless performance, I'll tell you, it was on par with Google Wi-Fi. I did see when I was hopping onto the third mesh point, a little bit of a speed decrease, but in all fairness, that's because in this setup, what I've got is I've got the AmpliFi router, which is wired, and then basically I have the two mesh pieces that are plugged into walls in different areas of my home, but both of those are wireless. And when I compare that to Google Wi-Fi, I've actually got one Google Wi-Fi set up in the room I'm filming that's wired, goes to another one in the other room that's using a wire for Ethernet backhaul, and then one that is wireless. So in the Google Wi-Fi scenario, I only have one that's wireless and two that are wired. So that explains why I'm seeing a slight speed difference when I hop onto the third mesh point on the AmpliFi HD kit. But taking that piece out of consideration, this is really on par with Google Wi-Fi. And I think that it really is a toss-up. It's a toss-up as to what you prefer insofar as app, because the apps are very different. I mean, take a look at my Google Wi-Fi video, and even though Google's updated their app since, you do not get nearly as much control as you do in the AmpliFi HD app as you do with Google Wi-Fi. Far less on the Google Wi-Fi side. AmpliFi gives you so much more that you can tinker with and adjust. So it depends on how much you want to do. You still have remote access. You get great speeds on par with Google Wi-Fi, in my opinion. And then just look, right? So is it a look that you want? I personally like it. I like the way that the AmpliFi router looks a little bit different with the porthole and the time and the designs and the LEDs. You can turn those on or off. And then you also get a well-recognized brand name, at least in the enterprise area. So you know you're getting something of good quality. So a lot of people are kind of shying away from Google just because them being Google. So that's another consideration. But I got to tell you, you're not going to go wrong with the AmpliFi HD system. It's extremely powerful. It does support Ethernet backhaul as long as you go out and purchase another one of the routers and then backhaul them via your Ethernet cable together. But even then, if you're not going to do that, you're still going to get great speeds. And Wi-Fi, by the way, for those of you who maybe haven't looked at the Google Wi-Fi video that I did, again, they're on par with that, 300, 400 megabits down. At least when I'm within this range close to my wired router. Even on the first wireless mesh kit, I was getting 200, 250, in some cases I think I saw 280 down. So it was really much on par with what I saw with Google Wi-Fi. So you can't go wrong with either one of these kits. It is by Ubiquiti. It is the AmpliFi HD Home Wi-Fi Mesh Kit. Super simple to set up, doesn't take a whole lot, but it has enough flexibility that you can go in and tinker with it if you want to. If you guys have any questions for me, please feel free to leave them down below. You can hit me up on Twitter as well. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to hit subscribe for even more content, and I will catch you guys next time. Take care.